When AI is being used, perhaps in scenario planning or whatever it might be, some aspect of forecasting, how do you maintain controls and quality over the AI assisted outputs?
Yeah, it's an interesting question and something we definitely are grappling with at Brex. I think candidly, from my vantage point, I'm yet to come across an AI tool or product that is able to forecast with a higher degree of accuracy than candidly even our finance team is able to forecast with more rudimentary approaches. Where I'm seeing AI be incredibly helpful on is obviously the speed of which you can understand your historical results, the depth of which you can drill into those results and understand, either correlation or causation that may exist over large swaths of data, of which, obviously Brex has a large amount of by virtue of us being our own payments infrastructure platform. That being said, when I think about being able to extrapolate, past 90 days, I think that's where I see the AI sort of degradation of fidelity as it relates to forecasting accuracy, because there are just dynamics that I don't think the models are able to sort of understand and ingest as it relates to, well, what is your actual business strategy? How are you thinking about the ramping of sales reps or the deployment of marketing dollars, or especially as you move into new markets and new sort of growth verticals, such as maybe this EU or UK expansion, or some of these partnerships that only existed for the last 12 months, an AI model just really would struggle because there's just like not enough historical data in which to rely upon. And when companies are growing as fast as Brex are, adding new products, adding new markets, there's just like a less of a 10 plus year look back that those AI models can use to then sort of prophesize the future. Whereas I think with just humans in the loop, I think you have a bit more of an intuition around some of these things that will enable you to get a more accurate forecast.
We would anticipate that we would expect that automation within the finance and accounting functions of Brex is you folks are leading the way, but what's the reality? What have you automated? What do you still have to get done?
Yeah, so I think for our context, we have a roughly 30-person accounting team, and our broader company is 1,200 people. So we're definitely a pretty lean team, especially given we're a fintech player and we operate in multiple products, multiple markets. I think a lot of how we've been able to scale the company more broadly without needing to scale the finance team has been both, candidly, a heavy reliance on Brex. Like, we obviously use it internally. We use it for our sort of corporate card and expense management product and platform, which greatly helps our close process. But then I think we've always sort of had this view towards solving our finance needs and gaps through systems and tooling, and less so through people. And so I would say a lot of that is reflected into the fact that we have, say, a 5-day close process. Like, we have a large organization, despite the fact that we're usage-based, we can close our books in 5 days. And a lot of that is because we've just been incredibly intentional about how do we make sure that at each stage of the sort of close process or the finance process, we have as much automation as we can add, whether it's using our own products and platform, as we obviously do, but also thinking about plugging into other tools like Numeric that helps us on the cash flow flux analysis, or it's using other sort of tools and platforms for like our AP automation. And so a lot of that really comes down to trying to hire people ultimately that are really incentivized and really motivated around the notion of automating and sort of up-leveling all of the more rote work, and then trying to focus more on the strategic elements of their job, versus I think if you were hiring someone culturally who's more inclined to sort of have their job, want to do their job the same way kind of day in, day out, like that's probably less the cultural fit for Brex and the finance team more broadly.
Can you talk a little bit, being president and CFO, we get to ask these type of questions. Talk a little bit more about maybe the people challenges that are likely to be encountered as you integrate these new technologies, AI and automation tools, the unique people challenges that every company are going to face. Could you reflect a little?
For sure. I think that, there's going to be, I would say, a schism that is created, I would say, between people who are embracing of AI and thinking about, how does this help me do my job better? How does this help me up level? How do I essentially replace all of the things I'm doing with AI so that I can go on to do other things? Essentially being comfortable with the notion of firing themselves from their own job and, expanding their ability to have impact elsewhere. And I think those folks, I think, will definitely be the sort of cultural carriers of companies like Brex, but also just like AI adoption, generally speaking, at companies. Versus, I think, if you take a more hesitant or wary approach to AI, or with a greater degree of trepidation, and you have that sort of internal resistance, I think culturally those folk may find it harder to work at companies like Brex, because, you know, the train has actually at this point already left the station, and if you're not on it, you like really need to rapidly try to catch up to it, versus sort of thinking that way of thinking is probably going to, in the long run, win out. So it is tough, and I would say I also have a great degree of empathy and respect for all of employees, including myself, but more broadly everyone around. There is this meaningful change that's going on in the market. There is a meaningful change in expectations that is happening at the company level. And that's hard on employees, right? Like, you've been hired to do a role in a certain way, and you've been doing that role in a certain way for some time. And now the expectations are shifting on you. And, you know, I got to be respectful of the fact that can be a hard thing for employees to transition through. And so how we think about it at Brex is really around, how do you make sure that you give all of the tools and systems and investment to your employee base so that they can make that transition, so they can sort of evolve into this new way of work and set them ultimately up for success, because that's candidly what we want to do, versus like leaving them out in the cold on their own to say, like, figure it out. And if you don't, I'm sorry, Brex is not the place for you to work. And so we've been really intentional about being very open with the entire employee base about, this is the direction we're going in, these are the expectations we have, but here is also all the support we're going to provide you with to hopefully help you get there. And I think that helps the employees and companies at large hopefully transition through this phase. Because we do think of it as transformational, and for us to think about it as in any other way, we would say we're probably putting our heads in the sand.